So another important point that a lot of people can't stand and hate it when I talk about this is I'm saying you have to get paid for your reading. And so if it's a friend, it really doesn't matter. They can always give you 25 cents, or they can give you $1 or £1 or whatever the currency is where you are. And it's not a lot of money. So you're not saying, okay, you know, I'm going to do this reading, but you have to pay me $200. It's not that. But there should be an exchange of money, cash. So 10 cents, 5 cents, it doesn't matter as long as some kind of transaction takes place. And this is because we're in life and we get certain lessons to learn. And I have my lessons and you have your lessons. And they can be very different. And so if we get together and I use tarot cards to answer your questions, I can in some way change the lessons you're going to be learning. Maybe I give you information or explain something or tell you something, and that clicks for you and makes you understand things differently. So I'm effectively causing you to learn different lessons. And so we can think of karma. There are lessons to be learned. And so if I change your lessons, then I become involved in your life. And you become involved with my lessons, and you become involved in my life. And that's okay if you're married to this person. But if it's somebody you don't know, or somebody you're not particularly related to, it can get really messy. And so there's protection for you, the reader, and there's protection for the questioner as well. If there's money is involved in some way, if there's an exchange of cash, it's a business transaction, and it's not the same as a personal, you know, these are your life lessons, and because of what I'm going to tell you, it's going to change your karma, it's going to change the lessons that you're learning. So there's protection for both parties if somebody is paid for their time and their energy. So let's say we've done that, we've got the name, we've got the number, and so on. And so I like to take a few minutes, or a couple of minutes only, to explain a couple of things to the questioner. And so I explain there are 4 suits. There's a suit of batons, which represents energy and enterprise. There's a suit of coins, which represents money, but it also represents values, so what you care about. There's a suit of cups, which represents love and romance and family and so on. And there's also the suit of swords, which represents hardship, conflict and strife. So depending on the question and depending on the card that comes up, you get an idea of what's involved in the answer to the question. So what we're doing at this point is sort of putting the questioner into a state of understanding more, or understanding better, what a reading is about and how you, the reader, are going to be answering their question. And also they're beginning to see the pictures on the cards. And that's useful for them as well. So you could, for instance, explain 3 of Cups, okay, celebration, happiness, whereas if it's upside down, then tears and upset and unhappiness. So they begin to see, okay, there's a picture, and if it's upright it means one thing, if it's upside down it can mean something else. And the other thing I point out to make, and it's important, each time you do this, you're not always going to say the same thing. So listen to yourself when you're explaining to the questioner about what the suits mean and what the particular card means, because there will for sure be times when you say things and you think to yourself, that was really good. I didn't know I knew that. Because your mind is always working away with tarot cards. And it's always understanding things and putting it together for you. So if you listen to the explanation you give and to the description that you give, you're going to find that you know an awful lot more than you thought you knew. And that's another reason for writing things down. So later you may discover that you said something about this card that you didn't realize you knew before. So maybe you make a little notation for yourself about that. So we have 4 suits, and we also have kings, queens, knights and pages, and they represent people. I don't always get one for each suit, but it gives you a chance to explain that kings and knights represent men. Kings tend to be older men, knights younger men, and pages and queens represent women. queens are older women, like mothers, for instance, and pages represent younger women. And so these 4 cards, these court cards, can represent you and characteristics that you need to express, or they can represent other people who have an influence in the question. So the question was, okay, this could be me, or it could be somebody else that I know. And depending on the suit, and whether it's a king, a queen, a knight, or a page, you get an idea of the personality or the character of the individual involved. And then you explain there are also 21 major trumps, and these are cards with titles like Strength, the Wheel of Fortune, the Hanged Man, and there was another one, the World. There's the World. And these in some way represent life lessons, and in some ways they're more important than the others. So, and maybe at this point, if the person chose the number 1, you would bring out the Magician and explain, or let's say the person chose the number 9, so you bring out the Hermit and say that the Hermit would represent somebody older and wiser, but a little bit isolated. So if this can be you, or it's what you're going to be going through soon, and you ought to remember that we need periods of isolation from time to time, because it gives us a chance to go over the stuff that we've picked up from other people, ideas, opinions, and values, and it gives us time to go over what we've sort of absorbed from other people, figure out if we believe it, if we want it, if we accept it, or whether we really are not into that kind of thinking. And so it gives us a chance to have a kind of mental clean-up and go through what we've got from other people, figure out if it's valuable and worthwhile for us, in which case we keep it and organise it, or if it's not something we want, we get rid of it. And it means that later when we go back into the world, let's say here with this card, we're much more ourselves, because we've got rid of stuff that really didn't belong to us. And so that would be the preparation for the reading. And then at this point, the questioner is in a very different position from the one they were in at the beginning, when you're saying, okay, what do you want to know? And so at that point, we would say, okay, let's say that's card number 1, question number 1, am I going to get the job? And so you do the shuffling, and then you lay the cards, and let's say Page of Wands, blah, blah, blah. So that's one way, one procedure for setting up the questioner and the cards for a reading. And it puts everyone, I think, in a better position to get more from the reading. So anyway, that's it. And if you like it, try it, or adapt it to your own needs and your own preferences. And if you have ideas or information that you'd like to pass on, then leave a comment or send me an email.